Hello peeps, guess what? It's another time for tea and a chat. Hello YouTubers, the new BMW R71 1938, was it the GS of its day? And was it used by the German army in World War II? I'll tell you what, let's find out, shall we? The new BMW R71 was presented at the Berlin Motor Show along with its three junior models, the overhead valved 500cc R51 and R61, and also the R66, which was equipped with the bigger 600cc engine. For the first time in the BMW's history, new models received a rear suspension, which in the previous 1937 year had its debut in a six-day rally. Then the riders were delighted with the innovation because after several hours of off-road riding, they weren't fatigued at all. Therefore, the rear suspension went into production in 1938. These new models of BMW motorcycles were actually classed as sports tourer type bikes, very similar to the new GS's of today, and they had mounting points for the new sidecars that were coming out, but they were made by a different firm. They were never made by BMW, and that's for another video. The BMW R71 was 750cc and it was a side valve and produced 22 horsepower, which in today's money is the new GS has probably got that in its starter motor. Now also the engine itself was what they called a flat twin engine, or what they called a boxer twin, and that was first produced in 1923 with the BMW R32. In 1938, British motorcycle journalists were full of compliments, taking mainly about the superior handling, flexibility, powerful engine and thoughtful design. In Britain, the R71 was recommended for everyone who needed a motorcycle for long distance travel, also in Germany as well. Also, German journalists focus on comfort. Even a lady after a really long trip characterised the motorcycle as comfortable and safe, which had never been said about any motorcycle before. Now, why was the BMW so expensive? Well, it had the new larger 750cc engine, the boxer engine. It was also had front and rear shock absorbers, which were quite expensive to build. Also as well with the tubular frame, it wasn't just a standard tubular frame, it was pulled at different thicknesses and different qualities of steel, and the production costs were very, very expensive. Now the R71 had excellent steering at any speed, while the engine allowed it to accelerate to a maximum of 125 kilometers solo, or 95 kilometers with a sidecar. The comfortable speed for riding on the highway was 105 kilometers with a fuel consumption of 5.5 to every 100 kilometers travelled. The maximum speed for which it was possible to accelerate in second and third gears was 100 and 120 kilometers per hour respectively. To understand how good the performance of the 750 engine was, here's an excerpt from a 1938 article describing similar performances for the Brough Superior SS100 motorcycle equipped with a 1000cc matchless engine. Henry Lard's tests show that the SS100's top speed with a sidecar was 129.6 kilometers in fourth gear. In other gears, the top speed was also quite impressive at 121.6 in third and 97.6 in second. Now for the fun part. The SS100 without a sidecar was sold at the price of £170 versus £123 for the R71, or nearly 40% more. In fairness, we should note that the maximum speed of the SS100 without a sidecar reached 160 kilometers, but the English brand couldn't reach the level of the BMW customer services. Now, can you imagine a mobile technician assistance point? Now, in the 21st century, of course, yes. But what about 1938? Surprisingly, BMW offered that option. Do you wonder why everyone admired the products of the Bavarians so much? It seemed that the R71 had to be sold in very high numbers all over the world. but the ambitions of the political parties mixed all the cards. The BMW R71 was called up to the front to serve in the Wehrmacht in 1939. Now, in the training camps of the Wehrmacht, we could find both models, the simpler R12, which had been in service for several years, and the tourist R71, which was equipped with a more perfect and lighter frame, with a variable section and soft rear suspension, and the more powerful 22 horsepower engine with the compression ratio of 5.5 to 1. Despite the obvious advantages, the R71 wasn't a real bestseller with the Army. They needed a low production, costed machine instead of a high-class manufacturing. The R71 became the last side valve motorcycle in the history of the BMW brand, and the last one that could be equipped with a hand gear lever at the request of the buyer. A total of 3,458 R71 motorcycles were produced, most which were destroyed in the war. It is interesting that while the end of the R71 production in Germany, the model found a new life in two versions. The Soviet government started to make the M72 production for the needs of the Red Army, and the American Harley-Davidson plant, which also received a military order, presented the XA models. Both were based on the Bavarian R71. USSS copied the R71 extremely accurately, but some changes were made only on the fuel tanks, which became bigger, and on the frame, which was also strengthened from the sidecar. The most likely explanation was because of the poor level of Soviet welding and technology, or the various thicknesses of the tubes in the frame. As a result, together with the 8 litres of fuel, the mass of the M72 increased by 32 kilograms due to the extra metal in the structure. An interesting fact today, restorers distinguish the frames of the original R71 and the early M72 from each other by actually weighing them. Now, the Americans, on the other hand, had to change the crankcases to fit the carburetors and generator, as well as remake the air filter space. The filter became much more bigger in comparison with the standard part on the R71 engine, and also, by the way, the R71 that was used in Africa also had an additional air filter. Both models showed really good results in tests, which once again proves that the R71 designers were far ahead of their time. But the fate of the clones is different. Harley-Davidson curtailed the production. They already had their own niche of workhorses, but the USSR had no desire to stop the production of such a successful model, the history of which continues into the 21st century. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe or just put something in the comments down below. Thanks ever so much indeed. Take care of yourselves. Bye.